Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Jerron Harrington, back to hit you with another video. And today, we are going to be concluding What If Bel Cranel Was Thor, Danmachi, The Last King, Season 3, Part 3, the Season 3 finale. First and foremost, as always, if you're a fan of the channel and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that has to come out now and in the future. If you've already seen the earlier video from today, then you are aware that we are going to be doing a double upload today. Now, a few days going into the future, I am planning on doing some more double uploads, mainly because we're at the tail end of a lot of series and a lot of other stories that are winding to a close. So we're trying to get them done in an orderly and timely manner, trying to stay on schedule. Anyway, I do want to inform you that this Saturday we are going to be doing the first part of What If Tandro Had Venom, Demon Slayer Dark Fury Season 2. Part 1 is going to be coming out on Saturday, and moving forward, Demon Slayer Dark Fury Season 2 is going to be on Tuesdays. So, with all that information, make sure that you keep that in mind, and make sure that you are watching your notifications bell so that you can always stay informed when we have more videos or just more information and announcements that come out in the future. But anyway, as always, when I get to the end of every series, I always want to say thank you to everyone who has enjoyed and supported it from start to finish. I feel a strong sense of pride when I'm able to complete a story. And don't get me wrong, we are going to be coming back with this series soon. I do plan on doing the Thor Love and Thunder movie, but that won't be until after Danmachi Season 4 when I cover that as well. So this won't be the last you see of these characters, but they will be on a bit of a hiatus for now. So keep that in mind. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Following an investigation from the guild, with the destruction of the Ikolos familia, Ikolos himself would be banished from Awario for his involvement with the poachers. As for Bel, he had already lost much respect amongst the other adventurers before he found himself being confronted by Seer. She was worried about him and hoped that he was alright. He assured her that everything was fine and that she didn't need to concern herself. In the meantime, the other Xenos were still at large. The Loki familia was in search of them, intending to capture them and wipe them out. As for Hermes, using blueprints that he had managed to get his hands on, they were going to find a way to sneak the Xenos back inside of the dungeon. Hopefully, they would be able to do so without much incident, and they would have others helping them, such as Hephaestos, Micah, as well as Takamichizuki, who had also learned of the situation, and they too sympathized with the Xenos looking to help them. In the meantime, Hestia, along with her familia, would come together with a plan to escort the Xenos back to the dungeon safely via a route known as the Canosso. But the Loki familia, weary of their intentions, would be developing their own strategy to stop Bel and the others from accomplishing their mission. Ayn would be a bit anxious. She had had a meeting with Bel some time before. As the two of them spoke with one another, Ein explained that she held Bel in high regard, but yet she couldn't understand why he was so determined to help the Xenos. They were the enemy. However, Bel explained that they weren't. That in the end, the Xenos were no different from them. The Xenos were not mindless monsters like the ones they fought in the dungeon. They had evolved past that. They were once the allies of humanity. And as such, how could he turn his back on them and still call himself a hero? He would then ask Ein this. If she met a Xeno, one that had never harmed a human, but was still being hunted and treated poorly, would she still turn away, or would she try to help it? Sadly, Ein could not answer this. She wasn't sure what she would do. To be honest, she would have probably killed it without a second thought, but that was just something that came naturally to her. All the while, Bel understood. At the same time, he wasn't going to force her to do anything. All he could say was that he hoped that at the end of this, they could still be friends. As Ein had attempted to go to find Bel to meet him once again, she would be met by Hermes, who would ask a favor of her. Later that night, the Hestia Familia would begin their plan to evacuate the Xenos from the city. Bel would try to draw the attention of the Loki Familia. They would send Ice to follow him. As Bel was approached by Aisha, Ryu, and Naza, who would offer their help in dealing with Ice, he would agree and they would make their way, trying to keep her as far as possible from the others as they attempted their escape. Bel, before long, would catch sight of Ice as she made her way to face him. Bel would be accompanied by Aisha and Ryu. As Ice had finally caught up with them, she would remove her sword. She would explain that she was doing what she felt was right, what she knew was of her. Bel would explain that he had no hard feelings, and he understood why she needed to do what she did. Aisha and Ryu would move to face off against Ice. Despite the two of them being as skilled as they are, even in a 2-on-1 situation, Ice was not worried in the slightest. Even if she had to face all three of them, she believed she could win, although there would be a great deal of difficulty. Bel clinging on to Mjolnir by his side. He watched on as the three women did battle. In the meantime, Lily, along with Mikoto, Welf, Fells, would lead the other Xenos towards the Canos, attempting to get to the underground. Taking wine along with them, they would help get the others to safety. Along the way, they would be met by Harume, who was also meeting with them as well, attempting to help in the rescue. As Aisha and Ryu continued in their fight against Ice, she was able to hold her own relatively easily, up to a certain extent. Aisha was not someone to hold back. She attempted to launch an attack towards Ice, one that could have been a bit too fatal. Bel wasn't sure of what to do in that moment, but without even thinking, he rushed forward. Before she could collide, Bel would reach out Mjolnir towards them. At that moment, he wasn't believing in combat. He simply reached out in an attempt to shield and protect. As such, Mjolnir would transform once again, Bel unlocking the fourth configuration, that being of the Valkyrie Shield. The Valkyrie Shield was one of the 7 weapons of Thor. The Valkyrie Shield was one that was formed in love and compassion, It was a shield meant to protect more so than for combat. A powerful and mighty tool that Bel now had in his arsenal. Aisha asked what Bel was doing, Bel stating that they didn't have to go so far, that it didn't have to be like this. However, Aisha and even Ryu would be angered at Bel. Even Ice would look on confused. He was like a walking contradiction in a way. The boy that wanted it all. They would state that that was kind of a selfish mindset to have for everything that they were putting on the line here. Bel understood this and he thanked them for it. But he looked towards the two, and then towards Ice. He explained that it didn't have to be this way. He valued all of them, and he didn't want them to fight and harm one another. However, Ice would look on determined. She was not going to back down. She had a mission, and she was going to fulfill it no matter what. Understanding this, Bel would turn back to her. He would tell the others to move on and to help the others in any way that they could, and that he would stay. They were both against this for a moment. However, he would tell them that it was alright, because in the end, this was his responsibility, and he would be the one to see it through till the end. Bel would have his shield transform into the Odin sword, as he went back to face against Ice. The two of them locking blades with one another in combat. Bel had definitely taken the fruits of his training, applying them to the battle. But even against the Sword Princess, it was obvious that she held the edge when it came to experience. However, the raw power that Bel possessed was able to be more than a match for her. However, the real problem came in the fact that Bel was holding back his true power. He did not want to harm or hurt Ice in any way, but at the same time, he knew that he had to finish things here and now. As they fought, Ice would compliment Bel on his fighting ability, stating that he was truly making the power his own, and as a swordsman, he wasn't half bad. Bel thanked her before creating distance as he summoned Mjolnir once again, pointing it towards her. She attempted to move quickly. However, Bel would unleash a gale storm. In doing so, the great winds would push her back a great deal, knocking her down just long enough. As she attempted to get back to her feet, Bel would take Mjolnir and place it on her leg. He did so gently, just enough so that she wouldn't be able to move, but not enough so that it would harm her. He explained that he was sorry, but this was for the best. Ice knew that she could do nothing, and honestly, she didn't want to. As Bel would meet up with the others, he would find where they were hiding. As he found wine, he would move her over to safety, promising her that everything was going to be fine. However, surprisingly enough, Ice had caught up with them. Before Bel could summon Mjolnir once again, she would kick him in the face, knocking him down. She knew what Bel was trying to do, and in the end, she simply had to be faster than him. Bel tried to figure out how she had managed to escape, Ice revealing that, while yes, she couldn't move Mjolnir, all she had to do was destroy the area surrounding her in the hammer, and it would provide her more than enough room to get free. Bel tried to reach out his hand once again, but before he could do so, Ice would stomp his hand into the ground, crushing and almost breaking it. Bel would yell out in pain, Ice explaining that this was the most reasonable outcome. In the end, she had a mission to uphold. Seeing Bel in the state that he was in would cause Wine great discomfort, tears streaming down her face as her claws and wings began to show. She moved to Bel's rescue, standing between him and Ice. Ice holding up her sword, attempting to strike her down. However, Bel would move Wine out of the way, showing his back towards Ice as her sword was brought down simultaneously, faster before she could stop, Bel being struck in the back. However, Bel was not dissuaded by the attack that he had taken. As he looked back towards her, he told her in the end, "All of us bleed the same. We shed the same blood. It was within our nature. And in the end, he would rather die than allow for Wine to be killed. And that if a life had to be taken, it would be his." This would stun Ice, long enough for Bel to use his other free hand, as Mjolnir became summoned to it at once, quickly. Before Ice knew what hit her, Bel, even with his crushed hand, would summon a gale palm, blasting her back once more. As he took Wine in his other hand, he would lift himself into the air as the two of them attempted to get away, before meeting with the other Xenos, who had almost seemingly been cornered. However, the Hermes Familia had come to their aid at the right time. With Hermes getting some assistance from a few others within the city, the Xenos were able to find the entry path towards the dungeon. In doing so, they were now safe for now. Korg would be thankful for what they had done for them. All the same, Bel knew that this was for the best. As Wine turned back to face him, she was saddened. She had wished that she could stay with Bel, that they could be friends. However, Bel promised that no matter what, they would always be friends, and that he would help and see her again someday. As they had managed to get the Xenos to safety, there was another commotion going on within the Wario. Freya had been watching things from the side, and now it was time for her to make her move. Asteros, the Minotaur, would be placed under her control and ordered to cause chaos within another part of Wario. Freya had done so for Bel's benefit. For Bel to be the one to defeat the Minotaur, it would put him back in good standings with the city once again. It was her own way of protecting the person that she had come to have a great deal of affection for. As Bel made his way towards the city wall where the others had been gathered, being the first hero to arrive, Bel would summon Mjolnir, transforming into Stormbreaker as he blocked the large sword of the Minotaur. Now in his presence, Asteros explained that he wanted a fight to the death, and he would do anything to cause it. Bel was confused. He wasn't sure of what to do at this moment. However, the Xenos explained that if he lost, he would simply be reincarnated anyway. And besides, for all that Bel had done, he owed him this much. Realizing what he meant, Bel would stand firm. The people gathering around together to watch what had happened. They saw Bel taking his stand against the Minotaur. This prompted Bel to be a promising hero in their eyes once again, seeing that he was still willing to defend the people. The Minotaur with his sword would clash with Bel and Stormbreaker. The people watched as Bel and the Minotaur did battle. Bel, despite his size, being able to swing Stormbreaker with precision and grace, switching between transformations at the right time, avoiding a slash, blocking with the shield, only to transform the shield into Mjolnir, throwing it quickly at the head of the Minotaur and catching it back once again, transforming into the Odin sword as he did a low sweep to the legs, before eventually coming back with the upswing of Stormbreaker once again. For Hestia and the others, to see the mastery that Bel commanded his weapon with, to see the way he fought, it was almost a thing of beauty. To see just how far he had come, to see just how much promise that he truly had within him. As they continued on in their battle, Bel was able to do more and more damage to the Minotaur, until eventually he went in for the finishing strike. Knocking the sword out of his hand, Bel would perform multiple slashes at his chest before reaching forward with his free hand as he let out a strong charge of lightning bolt over and over again, the Minotaur's body proving to be great in form of resistance, and Bel would have to amplify the power more and more, time and time again, until eventually the Minotaur would submit. Falling to one knee, the Minotaur would reach out his hand, going for his blade. As he kicked back at Bel, he would bring it back for one final strike, and Bel would do the same. As he brought back the Odin sword, the two would collide, Bel's sword cutting through the sword of the Minotaur, sending the blade breaking in half. Using the momentum of the blade, Bel would jump into the air once again, striking the Minotaur in his chest, as he discharged his most powerful lightning bolt, until eventually the beast was destroyed. As Bel fell to the ground and the beast disintegrated, the people watching on would cheer for their hero. The others would move to Bel's side as they helped him on his feet, Hestia being the first one there to grab and hold on to him. She was proud of Bel, proud of what he had been able to do, proud of the hero that he had become. Bel was thankful for his friends and for everyone that believed in him as they made their way home. Eventually the situation would be resolved. It was a lot more political than anything else, but thankfully Bel would be forgiven. But that didn't mean that the Hestia Familia had given up. They vowed that they would make a world where humans and the Xenos could coexist in the future. And for Bel, that was something that he was looking forward to as well. As he walked through the city, his armor now repaired, a silver with a black trim, he had went to visit Ice once again, thanking her for everything. As they reconciled, he vowed that he would keep training to get strong and to be the hero that this world needed. As the two enjoyed their conversation, someone else would approach them once again. As Ice turned, she sensed Loki, but when she looked, all she saw was a man dressed in a cloak with long dark hair. Master? Oh no, I believe you are confused. Well, not quite, but allow me to explain. Ikolos, is that you? Ikolos? Yes, that's his name. Ikolos. He's someone I met a while ago. What are you doing here? I'm sorry, Master Bel, but that there is Master Loki. What do you mean? That's not Loki. I can sense it, can't you? As Bel stopped for a moment to consider it, the man's presence did feel similar to that of Loki herself. It was just then they could hear bickering coming from both Hestia as well as Loki. The Loki that was a girl with red hair and, well, the lack in the bust region. As the two of them made their way, Ice would pull out her sword immediately towards the cloaked individual, asking who he truly was, trying to deceive them. Loki and Hestia would move over to them immediately, asking what was going on. Ice would explain that this perpetrator, whoever he was, he had the presence of a god, but that couldn't be possible. As Loki felt the presence, she realized it felt very similar to her. It felt like it was her, like she was standing in front of herself, but this clearly was not Loki. Hestia could also sense the presence of Loki as well, but she could see that Loki that she knew was right there. Then how was this person here also? As the man removed the hood, revealing himself, he explained that Ikolos was actually a cover name, and that it was simply his real name spelled backwards. You see, Ikolos is actually Loki. Bell was so confused, but he only had one question. Why were there two Lokis? That's when the different Loki, Ikolos as he went by, would calmly take a seat. He told them all that he would explain things in due time, but he had come here for a specific reason. As they looked to ask what he meant by this, he would hold out his hand, showing an orb. Within the orb, they saw many things. They saw a boy with green hair, with armor that was made of red and gold. They saw another boy with brown hair, who had the ability to transform his body into something that of a monstrous demon, his face turning to that of a skull that was set aflame. They saw another boy in a kingdom that seemed far different from their own, a boy dressed in blue and red, swinging around with some blue-haired girl in a maid uniform. They also saw another man, someone who was taller with blonde hair. He was dressed strangely enough, but they could see that standing behind him was something from that of heaven itself, an avatar-like figure that was red, white, and blue with a shield. They also saw a boy dressed in orange and black, a headband wrapped around his head with a strange symbol upon it, his eyes looking like that of a toad but with slits. As they looked through and saw all of these different people, Bell had no idea what he was seeing, as they all turned to him, all with the same expression. They wanted to know what it was that he was showing them. The man calmly explained, as he asked, "What do you know about the multiverse?" This concludes What If Bell Cranel Was Thor? Danmachi, The Last King, Season 3, Part 3, the Season 3 finale. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we will be continuing Konosuba, Mystic Rangers of Misfortune, based on the Heroes of the Morphin Grid series, Part 4. As always, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.